Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Loot of Lima, and this is published by BoardGameTables.com. That's the name, BoardGameTables.com.
They sell tables and
do.
board games.
Yes.
And board game tables.
Yes.
All right, so Loot of Lima apparently takes place in history, right? So there was these pirates who were, well, I guess they were good guys first. They were supposed to deliver this money, this treasure. Instead, they decided to turn it into pirates, keep it for themselves. They buried it on an island, and officially, it's never been found. So this game is about the pirates who are going back to try to find it. Everybody has a little bit of information about where the treasure isn't. What you're trying to find out is what everybody else knows, so that way you can figure out where the treasure is. There's a logic and deduction puzzle. Let me show you what it looks like on the table. All right, here's our setup for Loot of Lima. We have this really nice kind of shield divider thing here, and a bag that matches whatever our character is. We've got this pirate guy over here, so we get a bag of goodies that matches all the things that he needs for his game. This is a deduction game, so what we're going to try to do is we're trying to deduce where this buried treasure is. We've got a whole pile of tokens here that represent all the different locations on the board, and they match this as well. So what's going to happen basically is we're going to dish these out to everybody, so everybody has an equal number of things to look at. We're also going to have two of them set aside at the beginning of the game that are actually where the treasure is itself, and that's what we're trying to figure out. The inner circle is mountains, the middle circle, the green there, is forests, and the outer circle there is the beaches. So we're going to get, let's say, 4 tokens, and we're going to put them in that place that marks where we have information. So the tokens that we were dealt at the beginning of the game, let's say we were dealt 4 of them, we're going to put those locations on our actual map so that we can remember those are actually not where the treasure is. There also might be some face-up tiles that everyone gets access to, so we can mark those off as well, so we can show that this is not where any of the treasure is also. Something like that. Now we've got a big form here to fill out. It's kind of a big spreadsheet-looking sheet here, and it looks really overwhelming, but it's really not that bad. Basically, on this, you're going to mark off everything that you can see here, so that way you know not to ask anybody any questions about that particular information. But then what we're trying to do is figure out what information everybody else can see. We're going to do that by asking questions. So we've got these really big, nice D12s here. What we're going to do is we're going to roll them, and we're going to ask a question. You're trying to figure out a certain section of the board. So maybe, for instance, we want to ask a question about south and southeast. And so we would move these little markers here that to match that. It might look something like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask somebody, anybody at the table, these are gray matching the mountains. So we might say, hey, Bethany, how many mountains do you have between south and southeast? And if she says 0, then we can mark that off on the board, that 4M does not belong to her. Or if she says 1, well, shoot, then we know some information that she has. You can also switch it around and do something like this. You can say, from this whole section here, from south all the way to southeast, how many mountains have you seen? You won't get as specific as information maybe, but you might get still a number that can kind of help you deduce where things are. There's also a board out in the middle of the table that matches the island, and this can kind of be, how you line things up for yourself, but then what you actually show your opponent is on here. So, you could do that or whatever it is. Put it out on the table so that way all players can get that information, and they can mark it off on their little spreadsheet as well. Yeah, so your turns are going to look like that basically every time. You're going to roll the 3 dice, choose 2 of them, and then ask a question about that information. If the colors on the dice match, you're going to ask about that specific region. If they don't match, let's say we were asking about southwest to southeast, but the colors don't match. In that case, what you're going to do is you're asking about all the information. So in that case, if we were doing that, we might do something like this. Let's see. And ask a question like, okay, how many all tiles of all terrain can you see between southeast and southwest? If your dice ever rolls a blue, that is a wild terrain, so you can kind of choose any terrain you want for that one. You also have 3 special abilities. You've got a shovel that's going to help you with your different terrain types, kind of lets you choose a terrain of your choice. We've also got a barrel that helps you re-roll dice. Maybe you didn't get exactly what you wanted out there. And then we've also got a little bit of a pistol here. So this pistol, when you use that, at the very, very bottom of our sheet, you probably can't see with the lighting here, but basically what you do is you get to ask a question of someone privately. When you get the answer, it'll be an answer that only you know the answer to. And you don't have to ask about anything that you rolled. You can ask about anything. So you can ask any normal legal clue. Like, okay, let's say, even though you didn't roll the dice for it, you want to know between north and east how many beaches somebody had. You could do that. You could ask them that specific question, write it down, pass it to them. They'd fill it out and hand it back to you. So that you're the only two that know what happened. So as the board is filling up, you're going to mark it on the board right here. So maybe you've deduced that this particular spot is owned by that character, and this character has that spot, and you're kind of filling up your own little board. Once you kind of figured out where you think things are, you're going to put these treasure chests in there. So maybe you think it's there, maybe you think it's there. And then once you're super confident, you get to make a claim. You get to say, I know where the treasures are, I'm going to go look. You reach into the middle of the table, you grab the two that are face down at the beginning of the game. If you're correct, you win the game. However, if you were incorrect, you've lost the game. You're out of the game now, in fact. Since you know the actual answer to the question, of where the treasure chests are, you don't get to guess anymore. However, you still have to stick around, and you have to help everybody else answer their questions. So if someone asks you a question, you have to answer it truthfully. That can really suck, so you really don't want to make a guess until you are very, very confident that you have the right answer. And also, you have to be very, very careful when you're giving all these clues and giving answers to clues, so that way everyone has the correct information. If there's ever anything that's incorrect information, you can really screw up the whole game, so you want to make sure you have that dialed in. So take very, very good notes, listen to everything everybody says, and the game ends when one player has correctly figured out where the two treasure chests are.
Folks, there is so much in this box.
It's like bursting at the seams. You can't even close it.
You open up this itty bitty box and you just get so much stuff. The individual player boards are really neat. Or not boards, the player partition things.
Partitions is a good word.
Yeah.
Shield.
Shield. Those for all of the players and all little bits that come with it. And then the board in the middle for everybody to look at. You look at this little box. You don't think you're going to get that much stuff. But you get so much stuff. Look at the edge. Ryan can't even shut it. Yeah. Choop, choop, choop. There's a ton of stuff.
Sound effects were on point.
So much stuff. Just so much stuff.
You guys, I love logic and kind of deduction puzzles. Like as a kid, you had like those puzzles that were like, if Susie sat next to Timmy, but Timmy didn't sit next to Judy, who did Garth sit next to, or whatever. And do you remember those weird puzzles?
Garth.
I don't know. I loved those puzzles, and you check off every little bit of information you knew, and once you knew, so you cross off like whole columns and rows and stuff like that. And then I loved those. And then when I discovered Sudoku puzzles as like a teenager, I played the heck out of those. But I haven't really played them recently, and it turns out I should get back to that because I really enjoyed playing games like this. Loot of Lima was just so much fun with it, kind of like figuring out what information you knew, trying to ask those questions in such a way that you would, get the information that you needed, but you're kind of at the mercy of the dice as well, which is kind of fun. We get those special abilities. So yeah, there's just a lot of cool things going on with that logic and deduction, which I really enjoyed.
So usually when I play games, just in general, it's more of a social thing to me. It's why I don't play solo games. I'd rather like read a book or something like that. But what was really interesting about this game is that it was really silent. Like you're playing it and everybody is so focused on listening to what's happening and then like marking off their own stuff that there's no chit chat going on. We don't care what's happening in your life right now because we're just trying to play this game and
where's the treasure?
Where's the treasure? And it was just interesting because I hadn't played a game like that in such a long time that I really kind of enjoyed that actually because you were so concentrated. You're still with people, but you're just so concentrated on what's happening. It was really neat.
Yeah, so this is speaking of playing with solo and as a two-player game. This is definitely because of the way the logic works and information's given out. You need to play 3, 4, or 5 players. However, they kind of built in this really cool solo mode and two-player mode. There's a book inside the box that basically you ask it questions and it answers the questions for you. While we were playing it, we found out that some of the cells were kind of broken in it and gave up some false information. I looked it up on the BoardGameGeek.com webpage, and it turns out, some in the printing or some of the in the calculation, it printed the wrong stuff. But because of this, like how amazing are board gamers, right? That they were able to come up with a solution. They were able to make a website or essentially some apps that kind of solve that for you. So you then can go to this website and you can type in, okay, what's between west and southwest in this particular scenario 349QD, how many mountains does this person know about or whatever it is. So it spits out the answer. They figured it out. And I think that they had figured it out originally, just in the printing. It didn't come, the book that's in our particular edition didn't come out just right, but still they figured out how to do it digitally, and it's just so much fun. It works.
It works. The 2-player definitely works in this. I didn't try the solo. Did you try the solo?
I haven't tried the solo, but it's the same principle.
Yeah, and the 2-player worked really, really well. You still had that same tension. You were only fighting to be one person to guess, so it's not like nearly as stressful. But it still had that same. It still felt like exactly the same as a higher player count. So this game filled a hole in our collection. I personally had never played anything like it before that had this type of, puzzly deduction thing, and it was just really nice and refreshing for me to play it because I hadn't played something like that, and we don't have anything exactly like this in our collection. So I was pretty excited to be able to get this to the table and just kind of experiment and test this out. It was really fun.
Yeah, I thought this game was awesome. The only game I've played that's even close to it is there's a game called Alchemist. That's, you're asking questions and you mixing ingredients to try to get some logic and puzzle and stuff. And I guess you're not asking questions, but the point is it's the only thing that's even close to this game. And it was much more... it was more thinky, more Euro-y,
Yeah.
This was much more straightforward and just a really clear what's in this, between this space and this space, how many mountains do you know about, that kind of thing. It was just really straightforward, and I love that. It just brought back, scratched that itch that I didn't know that I needed itched.
Yeah.
Or scratched.
I do want to say, though, you have to be perfect in this game.
Yeah, you can't...
you can't make mistakes, because then you throw off the whole game.
Yeah, either in the asking of the questions or in the answering of the questions. You gotta make sure you're dead on.
Yeah, that's why they give you that board in the middle, so you can, make sure it's reflecting what you're asking, and just, don't make mistakes. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. So thank you so much for watching. You can find us in all of the places. You can find us on Facebook under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, you can find us under Ryan and Bethany 1. And on Instagram, you can find us under Ryan and Bethany.
Everybody, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Guys.